Hello. Good morning. Welcome into another episode of Good Morning Nasdaq right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel. It is the 23rd day of June, year of our Lord 2025. Wow, we're in the last full week of June here. And once we complete this month, we'll officially be halfway done with 2025. It's kind of wild to think about. I feel like as traders, we get so into the day-to-day with stat tracking, your weekly reviews, monthly reviews, quarterly reviews. Sometimes the years do just fly by, and I feel like, wow, halfway through the year, kind of crazy. The good thing about trading is you don't just take whatever you're at right now, multiply it by 2, and that's where you're at the end of the year. We can make changes. We can adjust on the fly. We can do put in work and find out how to find solutions for problems we're having. All the stuff we talk about all the time over at Clover. But yeah, kind of a fresh start coming here. Well, next week we have one day in June, but halfway done with the year. So happy half year. So let's round out this end of June with a little bit of positivity, a little bit of happiness, a little bit of education, entertainment, all that good stuff. Let's have a good time this week. You're going to be rocking and rolling with me pretty much by myself. Interesting week because Huddie and Kyle are both out in Europe traveling around the world. And you know me, I don't really ever leave Michigan. So I'm here with you, just us. So take it easy on me if I burp or slurp. And make sure you got some good questions in there. I'll try to get somebody, a guest, to come along Wine Wednesday with me this week as well. And we'll just try to make the most of it, all right? So already have 54 people in here. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button as well. Warren Taylor's in here. Marion, Randy, Master for Fun, no thanks. P. Daddy Slim, Wayne, good morning, good morning, good morning. Kind of was interested to see how the overall markets would respond this morning with, the U.S. kind of getting involved over the weekend with Iran. And I saw yesterday, I don't do a whole lot of premature looking or looking into the overnight trading. I feel like which starts at 8 p.m. I believe on Sunday nights, and the overall market was down a bit. But when I woke up and I looked at like 7 or 8 this morning, we're slightly green, up 0.12% right now. So that's interesting to see. You never know what it could end up being at the end of the day. The SPY, the Qs are all very random in my opinion. At least with the price action, but we're bouncing back off the lows from Friday, and we'll see if that sticks, if we start an uptrend this week or more news comes out. Obviously very sensitive to global news right now, so would expect some volatility this week. Obviously, we're not going to talk about any of these stocks, but whenever they're talking about the Straits of Hormuz or whatever, where a lot of the oil moves through, so those oil and gas plays from last couple of weeks kind of popping this morning. Not any that we're going to talk about that are up enough, I don't think, but who says up? INDO. I don't really have a good daily chart of RBNE, but that's up 25% as well. Your TPETs, your OPs, your whole list. At this point, you should have your list together for oil and gas energy plays. And if you're new around here and you haven't been trading that long and you haven't seen a whole lot of sector momentum, an important part of that is just being aware of what's moving and what's in the sector. So if stuff starts to move, what are the sympathies? Where are people going to flock to? This list has been years in the making from 2022 with the Ukraine-Russia stuff. We've had little bits of pop and drop with, INPP, INDO, HUSA, GBR, ENSV, a lot of tickers. As you trade longer, you get a better understanding of which tickers move and which times and which global, news impacts it. But you should have that list by now. I know I've seen people posting it in Clover every couple days. Just being aware, not that every time there's news like this or something happens in the Middle East, I just start clicking buttons. But I have the charts ready to go in case we set up for breakouts, reversals, first red days, all that good stuff. All right, we do have some gappers today. Make sure you go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. If you're new around here, we do talk the biggest gappers in small cap land. Go through them, up 80, 100+%. Go through the ones that most people are going to be seeing on their scanners. Go through and see if there's any dilution, what the fundamentals are looking like. I'm not a professional fundamentalist. We don't have our in-house specialist with Huddie. We have the trees today. We'll see what we get tomorrow for in Huddie's place, but we have the trees right there. We'll talk a little bit about the daily chart, if there's any behavioral history or any specific trends that the stock generally does. We'll talk through that, maybe formulate a bias, maybe be just really confused, and then move on. And we'll answer any questions you guys have towards the end. So go ahead, get those going in the live chat. Really get going in the live chat there. Message each other, message me. Questions, comments, no concerns. And we'll get to some of those comments towards the end. Any tickers that you guys see that we don't mention, we can hit on real quickly. If that sounds good to you, let me know. Sounds good to me. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. Trying to get to 7,000 subscribers. Go ahead, watch as well. Reminder, we haven't been the best at it, but we are trying and striving to post multiple long-form content every single week. We do a Monday video every single week from one of us. You'll see that we film and record on our own, and then one together or two together over the weekend, which is kind of a recap of the week, and then going into the next week, kind of what the stocks are that we're watching. So if you appreciate that stuff, leave a comment on those videos, like those videos, share them with others, whatever it is. Do the YouTube social media thing. I'm not a social mediaite or whatever, socialite, influencer. I don't know what it is, but go ahead, share that information, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and let's get into it. Biggest gapper of the day today is IBO, one that we've definitely heard from over the past few years, even as of more recently. So we'll have some stuff to look at on the daily chart here. It's a biotech with an 8.9 million float. Let's see if there's any news here. 1 hour ago, Dr. Ashley's Limited and Impact Biomedical announced strategic merger. So merging with Dr. Ashley's Limited. It's a weird name. Sounds like a furniture store, Dr. Ashley's. They have 3 months of cash left. Not registered, and I don't really see any offering ability. Overhead supply is high. We'll take a look at that. Cash need is high. They run a little low on cash. I'm sure if I looked into that deal, there's probably something in terms of getting some capital cash. And kind of a medium flow, 8.9 million, so not super low. Let's take a look at the daily chart here. Up 200% today. Like I said, is a former runner, one that we remember. Man, I really thought this one. Maybe I'm thinking of like IBIO, but looks like it's a fresher chart. Run from 50 cents all the way to $6 in, man, I do not remember this. March of this year. Since then, came all the way back down to where it came from, kind of basing in the 30-cent area. Had a spike towards $1 that really didn't go anywhere. Big move. No continuation, failed right back down. And today, trying to push again on that news, almost up 200% right now, just kind of cresting over the dollar area. So maybe acts as some resistance or some support, whichever one we get to out of the gate here, whichever side of it we're over or under. Just kind of expect that dollar area to be kind of important when stocks have to move quite a bit to get to it. 180%, either it starts to turn massive volume, we hold it as support, and you kind of have that resistance as well from the previous run. The most recent run, you obviously have resistance from back here all the way up to 6, but this most recent one on the most volume, almost 200 million. Expect that to come into play if anyone's kind of been bag holding or looking to get out of their position for, at this point, a net profit, wherever they bought that day. But I would have that line on my charts just to kind of see if we start to churn massive volume, what are we doing? Are we resisting underneath it, or are we supporting on top of it? That would kind of be the way I look at it. Obviously, have a decent history of green days closing near the highs. There's some wicks here, but we have proof at least that it can continue higher over multiple days. In this case, we have proof that it's not a red candle. It's not one that's going to crap and fade off. Doesn't mean it can't. Obviously, there are always not necessarily anomalies, but when we only have a couple days of action to go over, it doesn't guarantee that we're going to see the exact same type of price action going forward every single time it gaps up. So yeah, that's kind of the two angles I'm looking at this. You kind of have either short into this resistance if the dollar area kind of holds as a top, or you have a potential like multi-month breakout over this $96 area if we start to support that and start to pump out some serious volume. And then it kind of turns into, okay, if it's not fading off and not being a gap and crapper, then there is potential for a day 2 gap up. And maybe that's where I would maybe be interested in like an afternoon type of play for the move higher. Again, just because something has gapped up in the past doesn't necessarily mean it has to, but a lot of stocks do behave in similar ways when they get volume. So that's your biggest gapper of the day. And that's kind of how I see it. Not a lot going on in the live chat. You guys tired this morning? You guys tired? 39 likes, though. We appreciate that as more people funnel in. I'll continue to ask. Let's get that number up towards 50. Let's get over 100 viewers as well. Next biggest gapper of the day is ECDA. I saw this one in the room someone was mentioning. All right, another cheapie. Saw a ton of those, I feel like, over the past 2 weeks. Auto manufacturer company out of the United States, ECD Automotive Design, a 10 million float. They are a creator of restored luxury vehicles that combine classic English beauty with modern performance. Nice. But they're really only doing like Range Rovers, Land Rovers, Jaguars? 33 minutes ago, they secured $500 million equity facility to fund a Bitcoin treasury. That is your alarm to remind you of the past 472 examples of Bitcoin treasury plays. It also is Bitcoin and not some weird random. Oh, okay. Really? That's weird. Can't click on that PR. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's them. Maybe it's fake. I don't know. Can I look at any of these? Okay, that's weird. Just that PR isn't working. But they do have the buzzwords in there. $500 million Bitcoin treasury play. Let's take a look at if there's any obvious things here. Minus 1.3 months of cash, so they're behind on cash. Offering ability is low. Pending effect, registered, exercise price at 11. Well, that's far away from where we are right now. Okay. Yeah, so they don't have any cash. Offering ability is low, historically is low. 10.7 million float, so kind of on the not bigger side, but not tiny, but is a 70-cent stock, so not surprising there. I think about recent plays this week or last week that had similar news. SRM was Tron, and that gapped and ran throughout the day after having a morning pullback. Ended up kind of breaking out. Wow, that's sad. Kind of failing that breakout now. They have not had great histories of breakouts. I really think JNVR, CEP were your best ones. And then ASST was kind of blah. But what was the other one last week? EYEN kind of came out without news randomly on this breakout day. Ended up spiking from the 3s to the 7 or 8s. And then couldn't really continue and then faded off. So as we look at ECDA here, definitely still a market for it, interest for it. It seems like, I feel like a lot of shorts who are primarily gap and crop shorters kind of expect this news to fizzle and fade. And whereas a lot of times in small cap land, we have some sort of history or trend or behavioral type of thing associated with some sort of catalyst or news, everyone kind of hops on that piece of news. And at first it squeezes people, then eventually it gets overdone and we start to fade off of it. It's been a little hit or miss, but by and large, I wonder if someone has tracked it. I feel like a lot of these have ended up having really strong day 1, sometimes continuing to day 2. But we'll see what the case is here with ECDA. A lot of tops down here in the 40 to 50 cent area over the past few weeks. Over that level right now, up 130%. Let's go back a bit. Top left to bottom right chart. Not a ton of intriguing stuff since it became a stock. So kind of fresh daily, not a ton of resistance with any volume. Decent volume to start already today, 86 million, but is, like I said, the average probably 60 or 70 cents there. So not a ton of dollar volume. We'll see where it opens. This news came out recently. So kind of strong spike, 200% move, pull back and see if we're going to hold it or fade off. That's kind of ECDA, but I know Kyle has completely disregarded shorting any news that has to do with Bitcoin Treasury. And so far, I think it's paid off quite well for him. But kind of just wondering, is this going to be yet another squeezer that, kind of has a week open sideways and then strong afternoon? Or, if and when or ever does this trend slow down and we start to fade off of it as, too many longs get crowded into it? Wayne says tired, it's too hot outside. Yeah, I don't know where you live, Wayne, but the weather this past weekend was nuts. It was only like 80 or 90 degrees, but it was like real feel. It was like in the high 90s, hundreds. And I think we had a record day yesterday for this time of year. But it's hot. It's been muggy. I think everyone's getting some heat somewhere in the country. But yeah, stay safe out there. Stay hydrated. Stay hydrated. If you learn nothing from me, get your electrolytes in, all right? All right. Oh, wow. Still two more gappers up over 100% today. So we'll hit those, answer a question or two, get out of here. How's that sound? Wonderful. Amazing. Delicious coffee. INDP. Indaptus Therapeutics, your next biggest gapper. Another cheap stock here out of Israel Biotech, 13 mil float. Doesn't look like it has anything to do with energy or anything, though. 10 days ago, they announced a sale of $2.3 million in private placement, convertible notes and warrants. A couple weeks ago, phase 1B. But I do not see any news today. 0.9 months of cash left. Offering ability is low. Let's take a look at the daily chart here. Only really have one day recently where the stock's kind of popped on any real volume. Besides that, it's top left to bottom right, settling down in the 30-cent area. It kind of spiked. It wasn't really a big gap, but spiked from this 80-cent area over 100% into the 170s. Big wick, red candle, faded off. Obviously, a ton more volume right now. Really has no history of running, no history of holding its gains. Not really any history of gapping. So this is kind of the first big gap on this chart, up 120% from the high 20 cent area up to as high as 90 cents. So almost 50% off those highs right now, starting to fade. We'll see if out of the gate this one holds up or if this continues to fade before the open. So I got 20 minutes to go before the open, but not a ton of extra thinking here. There's no behavioral history, nothing. The only thing I can take away is that if it does spike big, it doesn't do a good job of holding those gains. But again, that's on really light volume on a day. It didn't really gap up. I don't see any news. So if anyone has other news, let me know. But another cheapy stock, kind of far away from $1, has already spiked big this morning and faded off the area. So you kind of have dual levels of resistance there from the whole $0.50 one, as well as the highs of pre-market. So yeah, I think we've had a couple runners in the cheapy land, but primarily really not being able to get anything going. I feel like out of the gappers the past week or two. So yeah, not a ton of thought and extra thinking here. It wouldn't surprise me either way, depending on the volume. Already 140 mil today, but no clear and easy bias I see there for today on this no new stock INDP. Next biggest gapper is CDTX. Is this one? Why does it say the price is $40? What is my price set to? Oh, it's infinity. But we're not going to talk about that one because that is probably a large cap or mid cap. All right, let's keep looking. That's it. The next biggest gappers, a couple of them are in that world of the oil and gas space, like I was mentioning earlier. So again, just make sure you keep an eye on these stocks, I guess, depending on what your strategies are and what you tend to do. But last week we kind of topped out on a lot of these. When I think about OP, TMDE in the sector topped out. A lot of these have wicks in the 4 to 7 a.m. area that are through the breakout level. I won't pay too much attention to those. The sector as a whole has been quite bad over the past few attempts at running, versus the early 2022 spikes that we had out of a lot of these. Some are setting up better than others. INDO sitting around a breakout level right now on light volume. Husa kind of having a big bounce back. We'll see if that one can hold up. I kind of expect a lot of these to fail today. I feel like it's just so sensitive to news that you got to catch it kind of perfect. And the news kind of keeps coming out on days in which, it breaks. Husa breaks out on this day. Okay, they announce dilution. Back down here, missiles go off and we gap up. Same with today. Over the weekend, it's like after a couple red days, we're gapping up. So it's like I expect these moves to kind of be short-lived. If and when massive volumes trading around big key levels and we're holding up, then I think it probably becomes worth it for me. But again, I think it's more of just keep a list of the stocks in the sector, or if any new ones come about over the course of today, tomorrow, whatever it is, keep that list handy in case either more information comes out or these charts really do set up and we have some, a main leader followed by some sympathy plays as well, because that is kind of the funnest time to trade. 123 Drummer Max says PTLE looking good for reversal. I swear you guys pull up tickers and I've never heard of them. Look, do not know what this is. Low of, I don't have a calculator up here. 17 to a high of 52. Don't make me catch you not following criteria. 0.17 times 4. That didn't even run 300%. So no, I don't want these low price turds that I've never heard of in my life. But also, it's a nice fade, really clean sideways price action. Looks like it did. Was that a gapper? I don't remember this one on day 1 or day 2. That's after I was pre-work, so it probably was a gapper. But already kind of bouncing back up 17%, but didn't quite run far enough for me to be interested. When it says CT, it will be over 100 tomorrow. Oh, Connecticut. Yeah, I don't know anything about the future or about the weather. It was already hot again this morning. I went outside and let the dog out, and I was just like, "Is it still hot?" And it was still hot. So we'll continue to work through this heat. P. Daddy says on CRWV. Last Friday, would you consider that a breakout or continuation being the day prior? It didn't really break the previous highs. On Friday, no. You can bend the rules any way you want. To me, the breakout level on CRWV is this double top. 166.63 was the breakout level. We kind of had one strong green day, a day in which nothing really happened, and then more continuation. Like, we're still on this breakout over 166, in my opinion. If this had been a double top to this high, we would have had a nice 3-day breakout, kind of similar to, Circle right here, where we had 2 days that held below the same high and then broke out. But CRWV, depends what you're trying to do with it. If you're buying up there, then you can maybe classify it and change it. But I'm still in from 160, watching this one on the 166 breakout. 123 Drummer Max says, Dom, it's an oil stock. You don't need to call me by name. Don't be angry. PTLE. Let's take a look and see how much it is. Because I see it out of Hong Kong. Integrated Freight and Logistics. Marine fuel logistics services for vessel refueling. Primarily container ships. I don't see any key buzzwords. I see Hong Kong. So it is marine, but I don't see any key oil and gas energy, but maybe could funnel into that world. But regardless, everything I said about the pattern sticks true. That's a question I get a lot when we have sector momentum, whether it be crypto, AI, quantum, marijuana. What's this one? Oil and gas. I don't really care about the catalyst if there is no chart pattern. And to me, all that really means is it's just an added bit of conviction that something could work better. I should be more patient. Maybe it should work more often or a higher percentage of the time. But if it still doesn't qualify, like, HUSA didn't qualify, I don't think, HUSA or RBNE for a reversal, but I was still probably watching it for our first green day. But when we're gapping up 30 or 40%, like, it still invalidates the pattern. Like, I don't care that the news is a global event that is triggering interest in this. Like, I'm not going to break the pattern to force myself to trade something because of a catalyst. Again, maybe it goes on a list in with the group if I missed it and something actually is part of the sector, but it's still got to fit the requirements, and PTLE didn't fit that for me. Doesn't mean it can fit for you. It can still work for you. It just doesn't work for me. Light viewership today, but we got our 51 likes, so we appreciate that. I love when you guys show me some love when I'm out here on my own. We do webinars usually by ourselves during the week, so that's an hour of talking as well as I run this show, which is like 30 minutes a day. So I do get tired running it alone, and it's nice to have some back and forth with a friend, a colleague, a Kyle, or a Huddie. But they're out doing their thing, having a good time, and I'll be here with you guys. So if you promise to show up all week, I promise to show up all week, and let's have a great time. Let's hopefully trade really well. I hope you guys went through your numbers, went through your stats over the weekend, came up with some areas that you need to either work on, fix, or continue doing if you're having a good stretch right now. It's been a really interesting June for me, with one of the best weeks of the year, one of the worst weeks of the year, and where I'm going to try to close it out strong. And I hope you guys are as well. If you're ever interested in joining Clover, you can over at clovertrade.io. If you want to pick my brain more often, I'm in the room all the time, as well as doing webinars every single week. We'll get that webinar schedule out to you guys. It'll probably be just me again, actually, if they're gone. So we'll have a couple webinars with me. We'll have a great time. If you ever want to join those, clovertrade.io. But if not, you're just here to be part of the community here on YouTube. I appreciate the likes, appreciate the comments, the questions, the tickers, and we'll do it all week. We'll do it all week. We'll be here starting again tomorrow, Tuesday, 8:45 a.m. You guys show up, I show up. That's the deal. Let's see if there's a quote of the day. I keep a little quote of the day. We're just going to read it. I'm not going to read it first. To find out what one is fitted to do and to secure an opportunity to do it is the key to happiness. Okay, everybody, have a wonderful day. We will see all you Clovers in the room, and we'll see you tomorrow.